Ones there. On today's episode of All About Ones, I'm going to be going through the game week 3 review. So, like I said, every single week I'm going to watch a couple of games in the Premier League, 2 to 3, maybe 4 games in the Premier League, and I'll come on here and give my opinion on it and a quick review of the weekend in general. So, I watched, I think, 4 games this weekend. I'm going to give a review on the Man United and Burnley game. I'm going to give a review on the Man City and Brighton game, and I'm also going to give a review on the Villa and Palace game, and a little bit of review on the very boring Liverpool and Arsenal game as well. So the first game we're going to go through is Man United and Burnley. And just before I get started, if you're on my page, you make it onto my page on my channel, please make sure to click on the subscribe button. And I do appreciate everyone who subscribed so far. Thank you very much. So let me get started. So Man United and Burnley. This was a must-win game for Man United. Even the Man United manager Ruben Amorim said this was a must-win game. We couldn't go. We had to get 3 points on the board in this game week, and we did eventually. We eventually did. It was a very good first half, to be honest with you. You can't fault Amorim at all after the first half, simply because he set up the team really well. The team started really well. In my opinion, we should have been up like 2 or 3 nil. The game should have been out of sight in the first half, but we only went up 1-0 through an own goal. However, in the second half, it became typical Man United style the past couple of years. It became a basketball game against a very poor team. You can't afford to be doing things like that every single week, especially against poor teams. This game was like a basketball game in the second half. It was end to end. For the neutral, it was a great watch. By the Man United fan, if you're playing an end-to-end game with a team like Burnley, there's something definitely wrong with the players and also the coaching, in my opinion. Like I said, my prediction was obviously Man United to win this weekend, and I predicted BRIGHTON to have a brilliant game because, like I said, there's a narrative out there for BRIGHTON. At the 3 p.m. kickoff, he plays fantastic, and he actually got man of the match this game. He was brilliant all game long. First half, second half, his standard didn't drop whatsoever. So I was very impressed with BRIGHTON in this game. I think he scored his second goal, yeah, and Bruno got the third goal. Ahmad kept running. He didn't have the best of game, but he kept trying. That's how he got the penalty to eventually win the game. And obviously Bruno, nerves of steel, he put the penalty away, unlike last weekend where he made a mistake. So overall, I was happy with the 3 points, but there's a lot to improve on for Man United in terms after the international break. But it's good to get a victory before the international break, because if you go into the international break without a victory, there's going to be a lot of talk about Ruben Amorim getting fired. I'm not the biggest Ruben Amorim fan. However, I do want to see him succeed, because if he succeeds, my favourite team succeeds as well. I know I do complain a lot about Man United. However, there's nothing to be happy about with Man United the last couple of years. So, in my opinion, I do want Ruben Amorim to succeed. If he does succeed, that means my team succeeds as well. So, that's pretty much it. So, the next game I'm going to go on to is the Man City Brighton game. I think this was my favourite game I watched this weekend, especially in the last 20 minutes of the second half. Man City and Brighton, they both started well, in my opinion. I felt this was Pep needed a bounce back result after losing to Spurs last weekend. You rarely ever see a Pep team lose 2-2, but unfortunately in this game, they did lose again to Brighton. Both teams started really well. Then Man City just started dominating the ball, but there was a lack of penetration from the Man City team. I know they had Marmoush and Oscar Bob. I do like Oscar Bob, but I feel like it's very inexperienced, in my opinion. And Marmoush, I'm not the biggest fan of Marmoush, in my opinion. I don't think it's suited Man City style at all. And also, Man City are looking to get Gianluigi Donnarumma, world-class shot stopper. However, I don't think it suits the way Pep plays. Donnarumma doesn't suit the way Pep plays, in my opinion, because Donnarumma is a great shot stopper, but he's not very good with the ball at his feet. He reminds me a lot of Prem De Gea, the way De Gea was. So I believe Pep will have to coach his ass off this year, in my opinion, to try to get the best out of Donnarumma when they do get him as well. Just back on this game, obviously Man City went 1-0 up. Haaland scored the first goal. However, Haaland's finishing was very poor in this game, in my opinion. He should have got 2 or 3 goals. He should have got 2 goals before he actually scored the goal he scored. It was brilliant work by Marmoush, but like I said, I'm not Marmoush's biggest fan. I feel like there's something lacking there. I don't feel like he's penetrative enough for the way Man City wanted to play, in my opinion. There was lack of penetration from Man City throughout the whole game, in my opinion. I know they kept the ball, they had better possession. However, in the second half, with about half an hour to go, around 25 minutes, half an hour to go, the Brighton manager made 4 substitutions. Once the 4 players came on, the game literally came to life again, and Brighton were all over Man City. They got the penalty, from Matthews Nunes, trying to block the ball with his hand. He was trying to protect his face, but it is a penalty, unfortunately. And then the winner was fantastic. Mitoma and Gerber were very, very good in the build-up to that play. Mitoma is another one of the players I do enjoy watching. He's a very exciting winger. But Man City looks so poor defensively, and that team looked very underwhelming. When you see the starting 11, you don't think of a Man City team. Think of the previous Man City teams in the past couple of years. This Man City team doesn't stand a chance whatsoever. When you look at the starting 11 on paper. But however, obviously Pep is going to have to coach his ass off in this game. And also, I came on after game week 1 and gave Rangers, or I honestly I struggle a lot in pronouncing his name, but I did come up here after game week 1, gave Rangers a lot of credit. However, in this game, he got found out. The intensity of the Premier League, the physicality of the Premier League in the middle of the park, he got completely found out. I believe he needs to do better because he's the marquee signing. He should be carrying the team like Kevin De Bruyne has carried him when he was in his prime. Ranger was very, very poor in my opinion. He needs to do better. And he's a marquee signing, and he just wasn't doing enough for me in this game. And obviously, eventually, Man City lost the game